It's now time for part 3 of our special primetime news report, Living with No Hands, a domestic violence survivor's story. Here's our reporter, Krista Campbell. Krista?
Thank you again, Janella. She didn't see it coming. How come? Questions about 29-year-old Jacine Greenfield describes as a surprise attack 9 years ago from a man she had broken off a 3-year relationship with after finding out he was physically abusing her then 5-year-old son. She was chopped 5 times in her head, once in her back, and her 2 hands were severed 6 months after the breakup. But there are warning signs she missed. The police's domestic violence liaison officer also taps into the issue in part 3 of this special report.
He says to me that if him can't have me, nobody else can have me, or him go turn me in a handicap.
Those infamous words almost always said by a violent or abusive partner. In Jacine Greenfield's case, her ex-partner only physically abused her son, not her. And like her, those around her say they were surprised her ex-partner attacked her like that.
Looking at the person, you never tell that he is violent or anything. He doesn't seem that way. He just behaves calm.
Still, there were some warning signs. Vakisha Foster Hill, who is like a second mother to Jacine, says Jacine's then 5-year-old son raised an alarm.
He would have complained about shouting and saying search mommy phone, and he cuss mommy and things like that. I have spoken to her more than once, more than twice. I have spoken to Jacine. This relation is toxic, Jacine. There have to be a way, but you know, when the financial part comes in, that's where the issue is, because there is no other way at the time.
Jacine said she would leave her son in her ex-partner's care while she worked and tried to complete her high school education. For the Jamaica Constabulary Force's National Domestic Violence Liaison Officer, Deputy Superintendent Jacqueline Dillon, it's a feature of the dependence that often keeps many women in abusive relationships.
It's one of the hardest things for a woman who is in that kind of situation to leave, because she has no support, moral, financially, or otherwise.
And so she is stressing the importance of a survival strategy.
You have to have a plan in place to say, if things escalate, what it is that I'm going to do, who are going to call first. If I have to run, who am I going to ask to help me to run? If I have children, what is going to happen to my children? What am I going to do?
Persons in domestic violence situations can get legal support from Jamaicans for Justice JFJ, counseling and other support from Eve for Life and the Bureau of Gender Affairs, which operates shelters across the island. And there's
Caribbean Coalition for Vulnerable Groups, who we have worked with, who will say to us, all right, we can put up this person for five days. They can also get a grant to assist them in renting somewhere.
She stressed that the only condition is that they must make a police report.
At the time of Jacine's attack in 2017, the Jamaica Constabulary Force had not yet started to collect statistics on domestic violence incidents. But 9 years and 10 domestic violence centers later, the Domestic Violence Prevention Unit located here at NCB's South Tower on Oxford Road in St. Andrew says it's making inroads.
In 2025, when we had that major reduction in crime, our domestic violence murders dropped to 20.
She says that's down from an average 70 domestic violence-related murders.
Last year, this time, we had over 2,200 reported incidents. So far, the first quarter of this year, we had roughly a little bit over 1,500 and something.
She says the successes can be attributed to interventions the police are taking, such as community walkthroughs and pop-up workshops to educate residents on resolving domestic disputes. President of the Lay Magistrates Association for Hanover, Moncrief Leslie, who's known Jacine and her family from she was a baby, stressed the importance of counseling in de-escalating domestic violence situations. However, he notes that pride and shame prevent a lot of victims from getting the help they need.
You're a young girl. Whatever may have happened did not have the resolve the way that it did. And unfortunately, things like this is escalating.
Justine says she doesn't remember getting counseling to cope with life after the attack that left her with no hands. But for her son,
the counselor would want him to accept his mother in the way that she is now, because they had counseled him and let him know that this is the way I'm going to be living until the day God is ready for me. And each time he goes there, he then tell him to draw me. His arm always drawing me with my two hands. So I was following up till I just eventually stopped.
In the final of this special primetime news report, I'll look at what's next, options to improve Justine's mobility, and dreams for a better life for her and her kids. Krista Campbell, TVJ News.